This is Aaron Golub, host of the Blind Ambition podcast. We'll be bringing you world-class leaders, entrepreneurs, and athletes, people who have overcome obstacles and used their ambition to create enormous success in their lives. If you enjoy this podcast, if you get anything out of it, the only thing I'll ever ask is that you subscribe, rate, and review. Hope you enjoy. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining in again today. I'm joined by an awesome guest, a new friend of mine, Kawan Glover. First off, Kawan, thank you so much for being here.
It's an honor and a pleasure, Aaron, and I'm just ready for another conversation. I know you have some gems to drop, and as I do as well. So just ready to have a good conversation. Hopefully your audience can pull some gems.
Yeah, absolutely. So, why don't you start off by giving us a background of yourself and your story? It's really interesting with, your past, having a stroke, having a tumor. Why don't you kind of lead us through the journey of where that all started to begin with?
It's interesting because when you think about strokes and you think about tumors and you think about brain surgery and all the different things that I've experienced in the last couple of years, you often think of someone that's closing on a retirement. They've had a life, they've lived a life, they've made their mistakes, they had their ups and downs, and they're coming towards the bookend or the closing chapter of their lives. Well, for me, it wasn't that way, and I'm sure, Aaron, you can directly relate to this. When I coming out of high school, everything was great. I had the grades that the girl had gotten to the university I wanted to, so everything was going well. And then the stress of school, and one day I just started feeling really weird, and I went to a hospital. They did a CAT scan, and they sent me to another hospital, did a MRI, and they said, "Hey, you have something called a cavernous malformation in your brain. It's not supposed to be there." And I'm just like, I'm at the time I'm 20 years old. I'm not studying any type of medicine, so I'm just like, okay, so take it out. I don't know what we're talking about this. I don't know what that means. And then they said, no, we're gonna wait. And then they sent me home for a couple of days, and I was back within a week. It got worse, started messing with my vision, started messing with my balance, and then I had my first brain surgery in August of 2014. A month later, I had another stroke. No, I had a stroke a month later, back in the hospital, and I would go on to have two more brain surgeries in 2015, 2017, and a couple more issues in between there and after there. And now I'm here, a best-selling author, a brain tumor survivor, and just excited to have another conversation because every day for me now is a gift. So that's how I got here.
Yeah, absolutely. What was it like finding out, about your stroke, about your tumor, about everything that was happening? Because at such a young age, were you you were 20 years old, so were you in college at that point when all this happened?
Yeah, when it all started, I was in college at the age of 20 when they first told
Mhm.
me I had this thing on my head. Again, I wasn't studying medicine. I wasn't privy to any type of information on. I never looked it up and never paid attention to it. So after the first surgery, I got up and I was kind of okay. I was going back to school. I was kind of arrogant. I was kind of feeling like I had beaten this thing without even trying. It wasn't until I had the stroke where it deeply affected my right side, which is my dominant side. So I was boxing at the time. I had to stop that. I was lifting weights at the time. I had to stop that. I had to run track and play sports all my life. I had to stop all of that. So that's when it started to change my viewpoint and perspective of the world. And then it was a conflict between the life I had planned to live and the life that I would have to live based on
Yeah.
what happened. So it was really a perfect storm, if you will.
What were kind of the emotions around it? Finding out that you had that tumor, that stroke, how did that make you feel? How did that impact your relationships with others? What did other people think, of it as it was going on as well?
I think after the first surgery, I was so in my own head, like, and it was not what you think. Like I said, I was arrogant. I was like, man, I beat this. I'm Superman. I can go back to my life. I had brain surgery. No one can tell me anything. But then after the stroke, it was just like, I'm not even half the man I used to be. I'm never gonna live the life I'm gonna be. I felt isolated, even surrounded by a bunch of people because I believed that no one understood what I was
Mhm.
going through. No one understood what I felt. And it led me to a series of bouts of depression, anxiety, uh, suicidal ideations. It was just really isolating because no one my age or around me could really understand what I was dealing with. So that put me in this place where I felt like I was just in a void
Yeah.
and I didn't know where to turn or what to do. I just kind of had to fight through it. But all that time, I knew if I start feeling bad or showing the wear and tear, that it would affect other people even more. And I already felt guilty that I was partly responsible for this happening to me, or so I thought. So I had to hold it all in, and that was basically swallowing fire and hoping it didn't burn your insides out.
Yeah. Yeah. That was so powerful. How, when that all happened, how were you able to bounce back? The journey and the path of that couldn't have been easy. What led you to decide to continue to live the life that you're living and not kind of, you know, give up or take your life in a different direction?
I think when you're in war or boxing or whatever, you are in that fight in that moment. So all the years I spent battling or going to the hospital or feeling like I wouldn't make it through, I was just focused on the fight.
Yep.
It was in those moments in between the surgeries or after the surgery where those were the toughest moments, because a lot of people don't realize it's not being in the hospital, being in surgery, and having people dig through your head that's difficult. It's dealing with the aftermath or the in between moments where, like, oh crap, I'm by myself. These thoughts come up and you don't know exactly what to do. But what really kind of turned it around is just one day is I had started writing the book in 2018. I wasn't really serious about it. And it was one day in 2019, I decided, and this is when I formed the first kind of modality or methodology for, way I live my life. I think mentally I had finally reached rock bottom. And what they say about that is like the only place you can go from rock bottom is up. And when I decided, and that's really, really takes first a decision, you know what? None of this was my fault. And then when I decided that, I just decided to trudge my way back up the other side of the mountain. In between two mountains, there's a valley, a low point, and that's the point I had reached. But in 2019, I made a decision, and the only place you receive the vision for the victory is in that valley, in that low point, in that darkness, in that despair. And once I decided to be better and put my story on paper and start sharing my story, the catharsis I reached by sharing it and seeing the power it had in affecting other people's changes, that's what motivated me to continue on this
Yeah.
path and learning those lessons going forward.
Yeah, no, that's so powerful because I think most people don't get it or learn it too late that your story, your message can truly impact others. I mean, that's why I speak. That's why I have my podcast. That's why I'm in the process of writing my first book as well, because everything I do, if it can help and impact one new person every day, then it's so worth me doing because you never know how I can change someone's life. And it's the same with you. Everything that you do, everything that you speak about, every person that you come in contact with, you have a connection with them, probably some more than others. But if you can touch one new person every day, then, you did your job.
Exactly. And I think for those that are listening that might be in that dark place, it often doesn't feel like you're doing anything or having an impact. But I know, Aaron, and I know for myself, there are people that listen or watch you or follow you or read your stuff that will never reach out to you, but know that you have had a bigger impact on their lives than you ever know. They may not be clicking, interacting, calling you, but they're watching. And when I realized there are people out there, like I was in New York, I live in DC. I was in New York, and this woman chased me down to say thank you. I saw your content and you really changed my life. That's when I knew, oh, this is bigger than me. This
Yeah.
isn't just about my struggle. This is about what I can do. And if I can change, inspire, or save one life each day, then I think my purpose is served.
No, it's so powerful. One of the proudest that I've been from everything that I do is when I was at Tulane still and I was playing football. A parent contacted the school and the football team, and she asked if she could bring her son by at some point to meet me
and to talk to us. He, recently was diagnosed with cancer, and he was legally blind and, having a lot of issues. And, we brought him to the school. I walked around the stadium with him, the weight room, things like that. And it meant a lot to him and to her. And, it made me happy to be able to help that person, to help him out, really in his time of need. And your story is similar. You never know when you're going to be able to help others. And if someone asks your help, if you talking to someone, if you recording something can really impact someone, then it's really worth doing.
Absolutely. I think even if, a lot of people also, what I realize is, this may be the same for you, but I find it similar to people who have experienced high levels of trauma, who deal with the difficulties we have. I wouldn't go back and change any of it. I wouldn't do it over. I wouldn't take away this ailment, this disability, quote unquote, because, well, for one, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you, Aaron. Like, I wouldn't be able to impact the people's lives that I have impacted, and that may have spelled something negative for their lives. So I just feel like people should understand that although we are have been impacted in certain ways, are different in certain ways. I don't identify with the community, disabled community, but I'm just able to do things differently.
Yeah.
And that ability allows me to impact people on a different level. And I'm proud to be where I am. I'm grateful that it's happened to me. And, when I walk, I have to constantly be mindful of my balance and my footsteps. And that keeps me present, and that keeps me in gratitude, and that makes me continue to move forward every day. Every day I get up and take a breath. I'm grateful to see another 24, and you never know when it ends. So I'm going to do the best I can to make the world a better place while I'm here.
Yeah. What are you able to do, or what do you do now is what I should say. I know that you in the past, you used to do a lot of boxing and weightlifting and running. Do you still do any of those things? Are they harder, or do you have to adjust them in a certain way?
Yeah, well, boxing is definitely how you need two hands so you won't get punched in the face. But I do have a weight system down in the basement. It's a lot more difficult because the strength, also you need your nerves, and the nerves are not firing correctly. So I have limited mobility in my hand. I do everything left-handed primarily. Um, I can walk. I use something called a bioness, which is like an electronic stimulation brace to lift my foot. Um, you know, I may not be able to do some of those things I did before, but the mental acuity, the emotional depth, the level of empathy, gratitude, some of those things that were considered soft skills, or some things I didn't think about, I am able to feel, see, and understand things more deeply. And that allows me to continue to inspire people. So although I'm not able to do some of those things yet, I can do other things that are more beneficial to the greater society now.
Yeah, and I think that people get lost in this, and I do as well, because I love lifting weights. It's one of my favorite things. It's a release for me. It's so much fun. And every week I try and bench more, I try and squat more, I try and deadlift more. But at the end of the day, I think people don't realize this, especially people who are similar to me and similar to you, is what I go and put on the bar when I bench press tomorrow doesn't matter. The amount of weight doesn't matter. What truly matters is the amount of empathy you have, the amount of gratitude you have, the amount of ability that you have to build relationships and help others and make an impact and truly care for other people. And those are the skills, those are the things that you need to move forward and notch forward every day. If I go a week and I increase those skills, but my bench press decreases, then that's a good week. It doesn't matter how heavy I can lift weights. It matters how much I grow as a person.
Absolutely. And that's ultimately the aim of life, becoming a better person, to find your gift and use that to impact the people. That's how you create you become, they say heroes always remembered, legends never die. That's how you create your legend. When they talk about Aaron, they're not going to be talking about how many weights he lifted or what he bench pressed. They're going to be talking about what he said when he spoke to my parents, and when he spoke to me in that weight room, and he walked me around. For a moment, I didn't think about cancer.
Yeah.
For a moment, I thought about, wow, I'm just happy to be in this weight room with Aaron. That was the type of moments I want to create. I want to create moments where, I'm, my dad's in prison, but I talked with Kawan today, and for a moment I forgot about it. For a moment I felt better, and I want to pass that on. That's the kind of legacy I want to create.
Yeah, absolutely. Talk a little bit about what you're doing now. I know you finished your book. You're speaking, coaching. Talk about everything that you have going on, and what you're doing today.
So I did publish my book in the midst of the pandemic on September 4th, 2020. It's called Favor: How Stroke, Struggle, and Surgery Helped Me Find My Life's Purpose. It's now an Amazon bestseller, so I'm really proud about that. I definitely have the coaching program set up. It's called Victory Coaching, and that's really talking about how to get you from the valley to victory, teach you from that low point, that moment of despair, that darkness, to the peak of the mountaintop. That the history in life, the philosophy is that in life you're going to go up many mountains and traverse many valleys, but it's always you making that choice to address the person in the mirror, address the person that is often the enemy, and that's yourself. That's the thoughts you create. Those are the mindset you adopt because of your trauma or adversity, and getting to see through that and see that it's a silver lining. There's always hope. And as far as speaking, I'm doing that. Clubhouse has been a great platform, using my voice, meeting other speakers, and just creating a network of speakers talking about adversity, failure, fear, different things like that. I have a number of gigs coming up actually, and I'm actually filming my own documentary. I'm editing my audiobook, so I have the ebook, I have the paperback, I'm doing a documentary, and I'm doing my audiobook. So I have those projects coming up, and I also on the other side, outside of the favor verse, I like to call it, I'm writing my own fiction, so those will be under under a pen name. But I'm doing pretty much. I'm doing pretty well. I'm doing a lot.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. Where can people find you online? Your website, your social media, stuff like that.
Okay, so you can go to www.kawanglover.com, and that's KAWANGLOVER.com. And that's still surreal to me that my name is actually a website. So it's difficult for me to say that sometimes. But it's like, wow, I'm talking about my website, not my email address. And then on social media, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, I'm on TikTok, I'm on Club. If you have social media and you have a search bar, you can type in Kawan Glover, and I'm sure I'll pop up there. I'm pretty fast in responding. So if you want to reach out and start a dialogue, if you want to talk to me about coaching, interviews, speaking, or just have a more direct conversation with me, you can email me at info@kawanglover.com. Again, that's info@kawanglover.com, and you can find my book on Amazon. Type in my name, type in favor. It should pop up right there for you.
That's awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Is there anything else that you want to share with my audience, and any last words that you have?
There was a point in my journey where I was just holding on. And I would get to those points where everything seemed lost, like, hold on, just keep holding on. And I thought about, how on Game of Thrones, the guy kept saying, Hodor, and no one knew what that meant. I didn't know why I had to keep holding on to what? And then I met a guy named Thomas Murphy, and he made it make sense to me. Hold on to possibilities that exist. And that's what hope means. Holding on to possibilities that exist. And I want you, Aaron, and your audience to know that no matter what you're going through, no matter what challenge or adversity or trauma, the darkest night always comes for the brightest morning, and hold on, because possibilities do exist.
Absolutely. Well, man, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. If you enjoyed it at all, if you got one thing out of it, we'd really appreciate it if you would subscribe, rate, and review. Thank you.